This is a Gotcha There production. You know that moment when you end up watching so many mafia movies that to the point where you notice that one of these games actually has a 1920s, 1930s style car. Well, that's actually what we're going to review today. So, what's going on, everyone? It's your favorite racing, fighting, a role-playing gaming jackal, Gotcha Tier, aka the Jackal Emperor, and today we are going to be taking a look at one more the most fragile aggression vehicle that's ever graced into this game and into our wallets as well. But yeah, so with that out of the way, grab your Tommy guns, grab your mafioso trench coats, and also grab your hats and grab your Italian accents, because today we are going to be taking a look at the possibly one of the oldest cars to ever exist in this entire game. Yeah, much more older than the Extreme Hot Rod. So yeah, today we're going to be taking a look at the good old fashioned, the all American made, the apparently most nimble aggression car to ever existed in the entire game, the oldest car in the entire game as well, the Carson Grand Marais. So without any further ado, let's get started. So the Grand Marais is actually available when you actually take out a driver with this car, and this is actually the second B-class vehicle you can actually get. And not to mention, this car is really interesting. So it has 3 speed, 5 boost, and 7 strength. And I want to say, don't let the absolute stats fool you, because this car is not that good. I'm sorry, but even though, yeah, it's a cool car. I mean, the car looks like it came out in the 1920s. It's not as good as people think it is. Now, there are 3 paint finishes. One of which is basically just its regular stock form. Excuse me. And not to mention, it has that Hollywood look to it. So yeah, it's very, very interesting to say the least. So the second one is actually a loose. It's basically a loose Easter egg. So for those that do not know, a gangster known as Al Capone actually owned something that's similar to this, basically. Yeah, it's basically kind of like that for the most part. Now, for those that are wondering what, and then the last one, not least, the blue one is basically the opposite of the red, the red and white one, except this one is blue and silver. Now, for those that are wondering what is this car based off, it's based off of 2 specific vehicles. One of which is a Cadillac 314A town car, and the other one is actually based off of a 1933 Chevrolet, which is actually the reason why it actually has, well, it's not because of the quality, well, it's because of, well, most cars usually are not that long. But anyway, so for those that do not know, back in the 1920s, 1930s, you know how like most people will make it so complicated, like, oh yeah, this is actually a sedan, oh no, this is actually a coupe. Well, things were actually kind of simple actually. If it's a and the reason why I say that is because of two reasons. And one of those reasons is because of GTA Online, of course. And that car, and I see, of course, the Broadway. So I'm gonna get a little bit off topic of this one, so bear with me with this one here because it actually circles back to Burnout Paradise. So there's a new car called the Classique Broadway that actually is a two-door sedan. Yeah, two-door sedan. And those two words don't usually match up with each other. So they actually have, well, of course, you got the four-door sedan, you got the two-door sedan, you got the two-door coupe, and then you got the four-door coupe. Usually, it's usually based off the body style, and not just the fact that it's kind of like that for the most part. So, how this car handles? It handles like a tank. And by a tank, I mean it literally has a turning radius of a tank. And as you can see here, even though I am braking, even though I'm boosting a lot, you can tell just how much I was struggling with this car. And those are wondering what I mean by the most nimble aggression car that I ever drove. Well, this car has what I like to call the 1930s car syndrome. So, what does that mean? Well, if the car is made in the 1920s, 1930s, these cars, I kid you not, these cars can leave you reeling. As in, the car itself is not strong in the front. The body, on the other hand, is extremely strong, just not the front. And guess what's also in the front? Your wheels. So, yeah, that's where I got that meaning from. It's because of this car and many other cars from the 1930s that a lot of people end up driving to death. So, yeah, and it's basically interesting. The speed is not that fast. It's quick, but it's not fast. Turning radius is actually not bad, and turning radius is basically a tank, but the boost is not bad, and the strength is on par with the other vehicles that actually existed. This is what happens when you actually take a look at a car, that same car but shot up. Meets the Grand Cillian, a busted version of the vehicle, which you're probably wondering, what the heck is up with the bullet holes? Well, that was a thing back in the 1920s and 1930s, aka the Prohibition era, where majority of gang violence and many other and smugglings were a common thing in the 1920s and 1930s, even till this day. But we're not going to go on to the history behind that because that's basically what it is. Anyways, so yeah, in order to get this variant, you have to complete the burning route with the Grand Marais. The Grand Cillian is almost the same thing, except in terms of the way the car is, essentially it's basically the same thing. The only difference is the fact that it looks different and it looks like it's been shot up for some reason. In fact, there is I don't know if there's a reference in there, but, and again, who else? But, yeah, it's basically this same thing apparently. And yeah, you know how I said some of these cars have and had an opposite effect of getting the getting the messed up version, get the clean version. Well, this is actually quite the opposite. You get the clean version first, and then you get the shot up version second. Oh my goodness. But judging by the way it looks, it's completely shot up, except for parts of the engine, and it's basically fine. And yeah, only one of the headlights worked, one of the taillights work. That's about it. Everything else is completely shot. Oh my god. So yeah. Anyways, time for the final variant of this car, because yes, there's 3. Keep in mind. And let's move on to that one. The PCPD Grand Marais. It's exactly the same thing as the other 3. The only difference being is that it's a clean version of the Grand Marais, not the Grand Cillian, but except with a police livery and 1 cop light. That's basically it. Everything else is very simple and literally the same exact thing as before. But what I like about this one specifically is the fact that they actually went with the old school livery, like old school police livery, to say the least. But yeah, it's one of those vehicles that's like, okay, that's interesting to say the least. So how do I feel about this car overall? It's not my cup of tea, even though yeah, it's actually one of the most fun cars to drive. Even though it handles like a tank, which that's good for. Because yeah, that's basically, this vehicle is kind of good for that kind of thing. But at the same time, it works. I don't know if it's just me, but somehow, some way, they know how to work with this car. And also keep in mind that this car used to be a pain in the butt to drive, but it's until like you get a lot more, because you're getting used to all these types of vehicles. And the Grand Marais is actually one of those cars that is one of those cars that's easy to drive but difficult to master type approaches. So yeah, for the most part, it's kind of like that for the most part. So yeah, it actually is pretty interesting to say the least. Oh, snap. Okay. But yeah, overall it's yeah, it's kind of, well, then again, the other thing that you have to know that this car is kind of heavy for a 1920s, 1930s car. And yeah, so overall, for those that are wondering why I rate this car, I rate this car a 86.7 out of 100, which for those that are wondering, that's basically a B. B for being better. Not be better, being better. B for be better, and then you get that A. But then again, this is the remastered version of Burnout Paradise, so can't blame it on that one. But yeah, it's yeah, overall, in terms of what kind of races this kind of events this car is best in, well, just go with road rage. Reason being, because marked man, you get taken out easily. This car is too heavy to race, and not to mention, this car is not a thing to do stunts in. So yeah, road rage is your best bet. That and the I forgot what that mode is. This man wants to actually play this game. So, yeah, it's one of those cases where it can get interesting, but at the same time, it's one of those that you have to look at the big picture and see what kind of vehicle this is, because otherwise you'll be confused on why do they add this car. Why does this car handle like a tank? In fact, why in the world did they add this car in the first place? Well, reason being because number one, they may have adding cars in like 1960s, 1970s, to even the 1980s and 90s, and even the newer cars these days. But actually having basically having what is essentially a pretty interesting, not interesting vehicle per se, but, and again, depending on how you look at it, it is one of those cars that you had to know what you're doing. So, yeah, so overall score of this car, like I said, is an 87 point, wait, no, it's not 87, it's basically 86.5, which is essentially, just a straight, basically a B flat. That's basically what it is. It's a B flat, and that's about it. So, if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next. You can follow me on Instagram at Gutter247 Productions. You can follow me on Twitter at G247S. You can also check out and follow my Twitch at Gottrister, and that's the certain not least. You can check out and join my Discord at Gotter's Garage Museum. So later today I will be streaming 2 games. One of which is Street Fighter 5, and the other one, well, you probably see, because one of those, because on one of the other days I can't believe I legit missed. Also, in terms of today's XCOM episode, I'm going to put in the back burner for now. Due to the fact that I actually legit raged in that moment, which I don't want this game to be, I want that game to be a rage game. And yeah, so in terms of President's Day, I will be streaming a American-esque type car meet on Monday, which will be a Gran Turismo esque type Monday. So yeah, that's basically what it is. It's one of those cases where it's like, okay, that's cool, that's fine, but yeah. Anyway, that'll be it. And also, in terms of Wednesday, I will be streaming CarX when I get back from classes. So there's that. As long as I'm not tired though. But yeah, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll go back to my regular day schedule. The reason I did stream yesterday is because I actually want to have I don't want to actually stream a little too much, so I gave a break on Saturday. So yeah, it was pretty helpful to say the least. But yeah, without further ado, hope you guys enjoy your stay, and also this got to sign off, and officially the den is closed. See ya.